Mengineo sahau.
Have your say, but be respectful. That's not from us. That's DP Kindiki's message to government critics as he issues titles in Taita Taveta.
Plus, former Kisumu ICT Director Nick Odhiambo Migot arrested over alleged forgery.
Good evening and welcome to Prime Edition. My name is Mboya.
I am Muchuma Odim.
Top in this live broadcast. Cabinet Secretary Muturi piles pressure on government over alleged abductions as he dismisses calls for his resignation. When the ghosts come calling.
COVID scandals resurfaced during the vetting of former health CS Mutahi Kagwe as former governors Lee and Kabogo confronted with integrity issues by MPs.
Kenya signs the first of its kind economic partnership agreement with the United Arab Emirates. Thank you for your patience and welcome once again. That was a moment we were comparing notes before we came on air. What's our socials tonight?
Our socials at KBC Channel 1. Our sign language experts tonight is Byron Abuli.
Now straight to our lead story. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi is tonight dismissing calls for his resignation, maintaining that government needs to get to the bottom of the reported cases of abductions.
The CS has said his position does not contradict any government position.
He spoke after he recorded a statement with the Directorate of Criminal Investigations at Kilimani Police Station over last year's abduction and release of his son.
John Jacob Curia opens our coverage tonight.
Kilimani Police Station in Nairobi. Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Beden Muturi, following his statement Sunday that the government was yet to furnish him with answers after the abduction and release of his son in June of 2024, the DCI released a statement calling on the former Attorney General to record a statement. Straight to the DCI offices, Muturi delivered his statement detailing the circumstances under which his son was abducted and the calls he made to senior government officials with no answers forthcoming. Muturi claims it took the intervention of a top official in government for his son to be released. And when he emerged from recording the statement,
they say that they have actually recorded statements from the other witnesses who are with my son, among them the Honorable Mark Mwenje and another young man, Mark Mwenje's driver. They say they have recorded a statement. They have also recorded a statement from the gentleman who was with my son in his car, called Marango Imanyara. They say they have recorded their statement. So they are now busy processing, according to them.
Muturi remained defiant, dismissing those calling for his resignation.
I would just say, bring it on. I mean, at my age, I'm not the kind of person to respond to some of it is really very perfunctory statement made by fairly inexperienced politicians. I think they are not worthy my response.
The CS says his position on the need for a comprehensive approach to abductions in the country does not contradict any government position.
Kila mmoja ndani ya serikali amekuwa akilaani utekaji nyara. Kwa hivyo sio ni tofauti ile iko. Kila mmoja kuanzia juu kabisa tumekuwa tukisema we don't recognize, we don't approve of abductions.
This, even as the family of Steve Mbisi from Kibwezi, believed to have been abducted, continued to call on the government to reveal the whereabouts of their son. The family now claims Mbisi was abducted in Machakos County by relatives said to be police officers.
Iko na shida, maana sijui kama ni ako hai ama amekufa, na ndio ninaomba Mwenyezi Mungu amjalie neema aonekane.
Wakati babake alipata hizo report, aliweza kuwa mgonjwa, akalazwa hospitalini na mpaka saa hii hajaitoka.
John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
Moving on, President William Ruto and his United Arab Emirates counterpart, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, presided over the signing of the Kenya-United Arab Emirates Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, marking a historic milestone in the economic relationships between the two nations.
This is the first agreement of its kind signed by the UAE with a mainland African country, representing a transformative step in enhancing trade, investment, and economic cooperation.
Here is that report.
The agreement aims to deepen trade ties by eliminating barriers to trade, simplifying customs procedures, and promoting industrialization and regional value chains. The Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA, goes beyond trade in goods by addressing services, technological innovation, digital trade, and sustainability. It also opens new opportunities for Kenyan service providers in sectors such as education, transport, communications, construction, and engineering to access the UAE market. The partnership aligns with Kenya's bottom-up economic transformation agenda by unlocking new markets for priority value chains, attracting foreign direct investment, and promoting technology transfer to support livelihoods across the country. Trade between Kenya and the UAE has more than doubled over the years, reaching 445 billion shillings in 2023. UAE ranks Kenya as 6th largest export destination and 2nd largest source of imports, accounting for 16% of Kenya's total imports. Maria Ambo reporting for the Prime Edition.
All right, onto that story we highlighted for you. Deputy President Professor Kindiki has urged those disagreeing with the policies of the current administration to have their say respectfully.
He made those remarks in Jukini, Taita Taveta County, while issuing title deeds. The DP added that Kenyans have the right to express themselves, but that prosperity of the nation, he noted, cannot be achieved by hurling insults at leaders.
At the same time, Kindiki called on the public to be patient with the Kenya Kwanza administration to deliver on its mandates.
Here's our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim with the details.
Deputy President Professor Kindiki, alongside several legislators and national government officials, pitched a tent in Taita Taveta County. It is here the second-in-command called for tolerance.
Paka tupendane, paka tuendelee kujumuika pamoja, tuwe jamii moja kubwa ya Kenya. Si namna hiyo? Mimi nimesikia mbunge moja hapa anataja sijui hao watu, sijui ni kabila hii iko na watu hii, sijui Wapare ni wangapi, sijui kabila ingine ni wangapi. Hiyo mambo ya hesabu ya jamii zetu ni mambo ambao hayana maana sana, kwa sababu sisi zote ni taifa moja la Kenya.
Speaking while issuing 1,300 title deeds in Jukini, Kindiki stated that Kenyans have the right to disagree with policies being implemented by the government, but ought to be done respectfully.
Tupelekane tu polepole, tusiwekeane pressure. Nchi yetu iko na matatizo mengi, wananchi wako na uhuru wa kuhimiza serikali wafanyie maendeleo. Ile tu tunaomba ni kwamba haisaidii kutumia matusi ndio kuletewa maendeleo. Uwezi tafuta maendeleo kwa kutusi watu wengine ama kwa kutusi viongozi. Tuwe na heshima, na hiyo sio kusema hatuwezi kutofautiana na serikali. Mwananchi anaweza kuwa na maoni tofauti, viongozi wa upinzani wanaweza kuwa na maoni tofauti, lakini jameni, tuwe na heshima.
Kindiki further urged Kenyans to allow the administration time to achieve its manifesto ahead of the polls.
Mambo ya siasa ikifika, kura inapigwa, mtu anapigia ule anapigia, story inaishia hapo, tunabaki tukiendelea tukiwa wa Kenya. Kweli si kweli? Kwani siasa ni vita? Mambo ya kura ni vita? Kwa hivyo tusiweke chuki katika mambo ya nchi yetu. Sisi zote hatuna nchi nyingine.
Meanwhile, 2027 politics took center stage with leaders accompanying the deputy president, taking a swipe at their critics.
Mwaka 2027 ambaye atakaongoza katika nchi yetu ni William Samoei. Hebu weka mkono, William. Basi sasa wale wengine wanamangamanga hapa na pale na propaganda ambayo haifai.
Yale yanasemwa kule nje, sisi hatutaki kuyasikia wala hatuko hapo. Sisi tuko kwa kuona ya kwamba ni wakati wa maendeleo, wacha tufanye kazi.
Meanwhile, Deputy President Kithure Kindiki has said that the government will establish and gazette 2 new land registries in Taita Taveta County. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
On to Health Watch now. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board has suspended and revoked the licenses of several pharmaceutical practitioners following investigations into complaints of professional misconduct.
In a statement, the board revealed it had investigated and found them culpable of professional misconduct, pledging to ensure the high standards in the pharmaceutical profession for public safety.
Here's that report.
In a statement, the PPB board chair, Dr. Richard Muthoka, outlined the circumstances leading to a 3-month suspension of the license of Dr. Nancy Wangu Kaguri, a pharmacist at Malibu Pharmacy. She was found to have authorized the delivery of medication by a rider with an external label bearing the complainant's full name, phone number, house name, and diagnosis. Further, the insurance form contained a wrong diagnosis, was improperly coded, and exposed the patient's sensitive information. In another incident, Lovi Lovins Manono, a pharmaceutical technologist, had his license suspended for 5 years for engaging in fraudulent activities. He was found to have entered into an agreement with an unprofessional to set up a pharmacy using his credentials and later transferred control to an unqualified person. Dr. Charles Mukabi Waweru, a pharmacist, also had his license suspended for 3 months for failing to notify the board of the closure of his pharmacy and leaving the premises open without a registered pharmacist, which put the public at risk. Emmanuel Odhiambo Gwasi had his pharmaceutical representative license revoked for 5 years for operating an unregistered premise. Finally, the board pardoned Caroline Washera, who was accused of failing to notify them of closure of a pharmacy. This is after she pleaded her case, outlining steps she had taken to follow due process.
It is 12 minutes past the top of the hour. You're watching Prime Edition.
And we are just getting started.
Well, we're taking our first short break and
we will be back with more. Stay with us.
star 570 hash. Option 1 kuna PS5 na ni full package na inakuja na JBL Party Box. Hiyo boom experience pia iko.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tumekita mizizi hapa JKUAT kitengo cha food science na kukuandalia mapochopocho.
Tunataka tu add value, ndio hizo vitu ziweze mkulima pia aweze kupata dhamana ya zile vitu au ya zile mazao ambayo anakusa shambani.
Usikose kujumuika nami siku ya Jumamosi saa 10:30 kwa uhondo kamili.
Welcome back to Prime Edition, our socials.
At KBC Channel 1, and that is on Facebook, X, and YouTube. On to yet another story we highlighted for you. The ghost of COVID-19 scandals resurfaced during the former health CS, Muturi Kagwe's vetting for the position of Agriculture CS, with legislators questioning the loss of funds during the pandemic.
Meanwhile, Information, Communication and Digital Economy nominee William Kabogo faced tough questions on his strategy to curb social media misuse to tarnish leaders' reputations.
Lee Kinyanjui, nominated to the Investments, Trade and Industry docket, denied allegations of dumping street children in a forest during his tenure as Nakuru governor.
Gishuki Washira reports on this grilling exercise that took place today in Parliament.
Tuesday afternoon at County Hall, the three nominees to Cabinet faced the National Assembly Committee on Appointments, chaired by the Speaker, Moses Wetangula. And at the stroke of midday, former Health Cabinet Secretary Muturi Kagwe walked in and took oath before the process kicked off.
I, Muturi Kagwe.
His vetting exercise was characterized by questions on loss of COVID-19 funds during his tenure at the health docket at the height of the pandemic.
On vaccines, it is believed that you failed to account on the procurement of 1.6 billion worth of vaccines.
And the whole issue of the expenditure on vaccines, Mr. Chairman, is actually exaggerated, because 90% of the vaccines that we actually used in Kenya were donated.
Defended himself on the procurement processes.
The negatives, I take responsibility. The positives, I give credit to the team that was working at the ministry.
The Agriculture and Livestock CS nominee also pledged to transform the agriculture sector and make it lucrative to attract young people.
If we are going to revive agriculture, the only way we are ever going to do it is when the farmer is profitable.
On the controversy surrounding the vaccination of livestock, Kagwe pledged to work with experts to explain the benefits of the vaccine.
The evidence I shall give before this committee.
Former Kiambu Governor William Kabogo was next to be vetted a few minutes past 3 p.m. MPs queried him on his plan to deal with cyber attacks, misuse of social media platforms, tame incidences of data breaches, and enhance the digital economy.
Cognizant of the fact that there is freedom of expression in Kenya, and we have to strike a balance so that the freedom of one is not used to infringe on the freedom of others.
He was also grilled on his plans to ensure the state broadcaster KBC was profitable.
I want to be the one who sorts KBC. If you put it in your house, people will want to watch because it's got the right content.
Legislators would also ask him to shed light on allegations of being involved in an illegal drug trade and the circumstances surrounding the death of a university student, Mercy Keino, in which was widely mentioned.
Life was lost, but I sincerely and truly had nothing to do with it.
Former Nakuru Governor Lee Kinyanjui was the last to be grilled a few minutes to 6 p.m. He was put to task to explain his plans for the investments, trade and industry docket amid concerns of collapsing local retail businesses.
We must look at our education, what do we need, and where do we direct our young people.
Kinyanjui was also on the spot to explain allegations of dumping street children in Mbobut Forest during his tenure as governor.
You remember this matter came up in the Senate?
Yes.
And Mbobut Forest was said to be infested with hyenas and other dangerous wild animals, and some of those children were never found.
Mr. Speaker, it is extremely wrong.
I have used the word very advisedly, alleged.
I also have many allegations about everybody else. So if it's about allegations, I think we can also come up with allegations.
The committee now retreats to finalize its report, which will be tabled and discussed in a special sitting this Thursday. Gishoki Washira, Prime Edition.
Right, on to an anti-graft story. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission has arrested a former Kisumu County ICT Director, Nick Odhiambo Migot.
Migot faces charges related to forgery of academic certificates.
He is also accused of using fake academic certificates to secure employment with the county government, thereby defrauding the public through salary received for 3 years.
Achola Simon has the details of that story.
During the 3 years he worked as the Information Communication and Technology Director in Kisumu County, Migot is estimated to have earned 4,656,211 shillings in salaries and other allowances. Investigations revealed that the suspect forged a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science degree certificate from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. He also forged a Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, purporting it to have been issued by the Kenya National Examinations Council. It is on the basis of the forged documents that the suspect secured the lucrative job from Kisumu County. He presented the fake documents to the County Public Service Board of Kisumu, which interviewed him for the position. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has recommended charges on several counts that include forgery contrary to Section 345, as read with Section 349 of the Penal Code, uttering a false document contrary to Section 353 of the Penal Code, and fraudulent acquisition of public property. The suspect is held at Kisumu Central Police Station and will be arraigned on 15th January 2025. For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
Now, the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, KUCO, has maintained that its strike set for Sunday, January the 19th, will proceed as planned.
This despite KUCO Secretary General George Kibore and Chairperson Peterson Washira meeting the Council of Governors on Tuesday in a bid to avert the looming strike.
And as Joseph Wahungu reports, KUCO leaders insist that government has 5 days to meet all the demands. Why? To avoid paralysis in the health sector.
A day after Kenya Union of Clinical Officers threatened to lead its members in downing their tools, KUCO officials on Tuesday were in a day-long meeting with governors at the COG offices in Nairobi. Speaking after the meeting, KUCO Secretary General George Gibore maintained that the members are ready to make good their threats to strike should their demands fail to be met by Sunday, 19th January. Key demands made by KUCO include the recognition and employment of healthcare providers and practitioners under the Clinical Officers Council and the reinstatement of pre-authorization rights for clinical officers under the Social Health Authority SHA.
We feel that we still have some time so that we can see reasonable engagement and movement in terms of addressing the issues which are there. because if that is not done eminently, as we have been ordered by our member, there will be a strike.
This as a section of health practitioners are currently on strike in Vihiga County.
We have a pending strike in Eldoret. We have a pending strike in Taita Taveta. And also, you know very well that we have a pending strike in Meru as much as the county ran to court. But similarly, there are issues at Isiolo, Marsabit, Machakos. There are many issues that are not resolved.
According to KUKO chairperson Peterson Wachira, governors have shown goodwill in resolving contentious issues, including the implementation of a return to work formula, which ended their strike last year.
We have agreed on a framework of meetings so that we can be able to resolve that, which are supposed to start immediately. But of course, as you know, as yet, there is nothing that has been resolved. So our position as the union still stands that until we are able to resolve these things, the strike is still on. Come 19th at midnight.
Joseph Wahungo for Prime Edition.
On to a disturbing story now. The two children, beg your pardon, were burnt beyond recognition at the Karai Muslims village that's in Kikuyu constituency in a mid-morning fire incident.
The fire razed down the house to ashes that it couldn't be contained as residents tried to fight the inferno that spread quickly.
The locals now want speedy investigations into the matter that has left them in shock and sorrow.
A sorrowful mood engulfed Karai village in Kikuyu constituency after this house caught fire around 9 a.m., burning to death 2 children. The villagers tried their best to fight the inferno, but their efforts bore no fruit.
Mwingine kuangalia kunika kama kwa kitanda kadogo kidogo tukakaona. Sasa vile tukaangalia tukaona sasa kuna shida hii kitu kingine. Nyumba tayari shaungua. Watoto tulikuwa na watafuta ndio hawa. Nguvu yangu ikanishia.
Ni vijana wawili. Mmoja ni mtoto wa mama na mwingine ni mchukuu wake.
Investigations into the incident have begun. Meanwhile, 2 suspected livestock thieves were killed by a mob after they were caught in the act at Eshianini village, Kakamega County. Zefania Omalwa, owner of the livestock, recalls bumping the thieves in the act before screaming for help.
Majirani wakaamuka, kwa hiyo harakati wa kuamuka wakakuja kutusaidia. Kwa hiyo harakati walikuwa wanatafuta. Papa hapo ndio tulipata wale walikuwa wanapita na pikipiki kama wamebeba.
Na ukijua uko na mtoto mbaya kwa boma lako, jitokeza hadharani useme mtoto wangu ni mbaya, tujue tunaweza msaidia namna gani. Lakini wakati mhalifu anashikwa na wewe unaanza kumtetea, unamshika unakimbia na yeye, unamchimbia kaburi.
The area chief, while acknowledging that the two have been terrorizing the village, however cautioned residents against taking matters into their own hands. Yusufal reporting for Prime Edition.
Isa hii ishapika na ni kubwa. Kweli? Hii Kristi ni bomba na Blue Santa kupitia star 570 hash option 1. Rudia. Star 570 hash option 1. Iko PlayStation 5 na 55 inch TV na iko 500,000 Kenyan shillings.
Mbuzi moja?
Na mbuzi. 1 million Kenyan shillings na Samsung S24 Ultra.
Na mbuzi moja?
Iko 2 million Kenyan shillings na iPhone 16 Pro Max.
Na mbuzi mbili.
Blue Santa amekuja na zawadi kibao. Nani kubwa. Hapa kuna ndogo. Hapa Christmas ni bomba.
wakanichapa, wakaniumiza. Hata grandsons wake ndo walikuwa anasema, "Auntie amefanya nini, msamee, usimchape."
Wacha huyu msichana atwangwe. Wacha kung'utwe. Wacha kung'utwe.
Unasema nilikuwa nimekuajiri kazi.
Ndio.
Ninaishi wapi?
Ninaishi Kilelesho.
Kweli?
Ndio.
Kwani kuna Kilelesho wangapi? Mimi simjui. 3 years.
Yes, 3 years.
Wacha hajui where she was living.
Najui barabara inaitwa.
Najui barabara inaitwa. Wewe.
Makalio ikaumia.
Na mkamfukuza usiku.
Ni reasonable doubt.
Iko hapa kama ex.
Leta hiyo makalio tuone.
Umemaliza maswali?
Umemaliza swali.
Kwa wapi tukichapa?
Nilikuwa kwa mliango nikakuja kusaidia, mkaniambia you will be in the mix. Mimi nikawacha.
Ati
nitakuwa kwa mix. Yani watanichapa pia au msi.
Tuendelee?
Yes, obviously you have to be back.
Kuuliza nini?
Ameniuliza kama huyo msichana anampenda yeye mheshimiwa.
Welcome back to Prime Edition. 2 suspects linked to the gruesome attack and murder of Kilifi County IEBC official Aisha Abubakar at her residence in Utange, Kisauni, Mombasa County will be detained for 21 days.
Principal Magistrate Lea Juma granted the prosecution 3 weeks to allow the police to complete their investigations.
Following a 7-day intensive manhunt of the assailants accused of the brutal murder of Kilifi County IEBC official Aisha Abubakar during a robbery incident at her Utange home in Kisauni, Mombasa County, DCI detectives have managed to arrest 2 persons believed to be behind her murder. The duo Joseph Sande and Brian Templar were flushed out from a hideout in Utange area, and several exhibits from the crime scene recovered. Among the items seized was a mobile phone belonging to the deceased son, reportedly stolen during the robbery, along with other crucial evidence. Appearing before Principal Magistrate Lea Juma at the Shanzu Law Courts, the investigating officer and the prosecution filed an application seeking to detain the suspects for 21 days pending the conclusion of the investigation, an application which was okayed by the principal magistrate.
So the main reason as to why the investigating officer is seeking to detain the suspect is that he requires time to conduct an identification parade, record further statements, and take the exhibits for analysis. The nature of the investigations is for a serious offense, that is murder. I therefore find that there are compelling reasons raised by the prosecution and the investigating officer to deny the respondents bond at this point, and also to detain them in custody for the investigations to be finalized.
And following an allegation by the suspect of being subjected to torture at the police cells, the principal magistrate ordered investigations by the IPOA.
Issues raised by the respondents that they were subjected to torture. I note that there is an oversight authority that oversees the police, that is IPOA. So this court will direct that the matter be investigated by the said authority, who are mandated by the law to act as an oversight over the police.
The matter will be mentioned on 6th February 2025. For Prime Edition, I'm Abdulaziz Abeid.
There's an item here on Health Watch still. The government has rolled out a healthcare program set to benefit more than 20,000 people with special needs across the country.
Speaking in Nairobi after signing an MOU between the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, and the National Council for People with Disability, KEMSA Chief Executive Officer Dulacha Erjesa said the program will ensure people with different disabilities get better services, particularly in providing them with the right medication.
Medication, that's right. And he said that in realizing the government's vision of universal healthcare coverage, KEMSA will ensure a seamless procurement, warehousing, and distribution of the required drugs and equipment for persons living with disabilities or people who are abled differently. NCPWD Executive Director Harun Malim lauded the move, saying that it will go a long way in ensuring persons with autism, albinism, and cerebral palsy get the necessary assistance and essential drug therapy to make their lives even a lot better.
We are excited to provide services to people with special needs. As you know, they always say disability is not inability. And we want to come into this space and ensure that the disability does not hinder in any way the lives of our people. We have promised Kenyans a high quality of life. In the spirit of universal health coverage, to participate in this lies with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities to identify people with disabilities and provide the last mile solutions, which KEMSA is an expert in.
We have identified over 20,000 and also mapped them to different facilities across this country. So every facility, what it means, they have a register or a details of those beneficiaries. So them is just to present themselves. So this ceremony that we have signed with KEMSA is more or less how that infrastructure we can monitor together to ensure that these services as part of the government commitment on universal health coverage is reaching persons with disabilities, more so those with autism and other related developmental disorder.
Yes.
Onto the corridors of justice. Mohammed Ahmed Mohammed, accused of obtaining 59,000 shillings by false pretense, has been found guilty of the charges by a Nairobi court.
Milimani Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina says that the prosecution proved the case and set Wednesday next week as the date of sentencing.
Separately, Joseph Cairo Wambui, alias Caliph Cairo, has pleaded not guilty to charges of defrauding two individuals under the pretext he would procure them vehicles. And our court reporter, Litoya Debra, captured these details for you in our Scales of Justice segment.
Mohammed Ahmed Mohammed was found guilty of obtaining 59,000 shillings by pretense. However, the magistrate acquitted him on the charges of extortion and trafficking of persons, citing insufficient evidence. Mohammed's lawyer pleaded for a non-custodian sentence, arguing the accused had been in remand for 18 months. He was the sole breadwinner of his family of 4 and a first-time offender. The magistrate requested for a pre-sentence report to be presented before sentencing, which was set for next week on Wednesday, the 22nd of January 2025.
I make the following findings under Section 215 of the Criminal Procedure Code. A. The accused person is not guilty of counts numbers 1 and 2 and is acquitted of the same. And B. The accused person is guilty of each of counts numbers 3 and 4 and is accordingly convicted of the same. That is the end of the judgment. Thank you.
In a separate case, Joseph Cairo Wambui, alias Caliph Cairo, pleaded not guilty to charges of obtaining money by pretense. Appearing before Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina, he denied defrauding donor Ayelo Okoth Kenya shillings 2,984,998 by promising to procure a Subaru Outback, and Jeff Yule Munane Kenya shillings 2,145,150 to procure a Honda Vezel hybrid between July 29, 2024 and November 16, 2024. He was released on 1 million shillings bail for each count, with an alternative bond of Kenya shillings 1 million for the second count. Additionally, the court ordered he deposit his passport with the court and the case be mentioned on January 28, 2025.
On the foregoing considerations, the accused person is granted cash bail of Kenya shillings 1 million with one contact person, and the accused shall not travel out of the country without prior notice and consent of the trial court, and his passport shall be deposited with the senior court administrator of this court, and the trial shall be fast-tracked. Orders accordingly.
Litoya Debra for Prime Edition.
Star 570 hash. Option 1 kuna PS5 na ni full package na inakuja na JBL Party Box. Hiyo boom experience pia iko.
They wake up the city before the sun. They sent the stars away for us.
Your husband seems to be worried. Do you want to take that call?
On how to be responsible as a man. You should respect girls and not take advantage of them. If they aren't willing, you can't force them.
It should be you who's shameful. I didn't agree to go for dinner. The last guy you set me up with, he asked me for a selfie without makeup as soon as we added each other.
It's now time to get some serious business.
Nimo Njenga, or Wairimu Njenga if you like, is here with us on set. Nimo, what is the latest in the world of business, especially on matters touching on tourism?
Exactly. When you want to, of course, diversify, the government is looking at now sports tourism. They're getting away from now the bush, the safari. Now we are getting into sports tourism, mountaineering, among others. Nice. That is the top story tonight, and we take you through the day's business. My name is Wairimu Njenga, and Kenya is targeting to attract about 200,000 adventure travelers in the next 5 years as it unveils the Magical Kenya Mountain and Trail Series. The series that kicked off for Monday with a 5-day-long hike forms part of the country's broader strategy to diversify its tourism product portfolio and increase revenue by tapping into the fast-growing global adventure tourism market, which was valued at approximately $804 billion in 2024. A variety of initiatives designed to market Kenya's diverse tourism products, including mountaineering and trails, have been unveiled in Laikipia County.
Very nice, Magical Kenya Trail Series.
Tourism Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, accompanied by Head of Public Service Felix Koskei, emphasized that this experience fuses multiple tourism offerings such as cultural shows, sports, wellness, and adventure.
As a Ministry of Tourism, we then are diversifying the products that will suit a modern day traveler, a traveler that wants to experience a place, not only to see a few things, but to have diversity.
We are now appreciating features like Mount Kenya, Thompson Falls, Mount Elgon, our savannah across, and very soon we shall also venture towards Northeastern.
The goal is to attract 5 million tourists over the next 2 years and 10 million by 2032. The inaugural Heritage Trails and Bagentuni Mountain Run in Nyahururu marks the beginning of this ambitious series. It will traverse Laikipia County with hikers, bikers and fans covering 5 counties over the next 5 days.
This is the only county in this world that you can be able, within 1 hour, you can be able to see the big 5. And we want us to commit ourselves as the county government of Laikipia and the great people of Laikipia that we would want to play a great role and a pivotal role in terms of developing the product in this region.
For this partnership, we have now expanded to Aberdare Mountains and Mount Elgon. So you can see that in Athletics Kenya, we are growing because of this partnership.
The trail is open to both local and international tourists and will eventually expand to other counties. This initiative is part of the Kenya Tourism Board's effort to diversify products beyond the traditional bush and beach experiences, incorporating sports and adventure. Now we move to the horticulture sector, where high air freight costs for horticultural exports are making horticulture business unsustainable for many local producers. Horticulture exporters say the cost of air freight has increased as airlines opt for more profitable routes, resulting in delayed deliveries, loss of markets and reduced shelf life of produce, hence incurring huge losses.
Kenya's second leading foreign exchange earner, horticulture, which earned 157 billion shillings last year, is gradually becoming less competitive against other horticulture producing countries, such as Morocco and Egypt, because of their proximity to Europe, which reduces their transport costs. This has seen Kenya's market share to the EU continually shrink as the country lags behind in infrastructural developments to improve custom processes for perishables. While inaugurating the newly formed National Standing Committee on Horticulture, Agriculture Principal Secretary Dr. Paul Rono says the task force will work to develop strategies that will allow exporters to explore new transport avenues such as sea freights, which are significantly cheaper, thus lowering costs by 40 to 50% compared to air freight.
Looking at the perishability of this crop, many times they get spoiled, and producers, farmers, and the country serve us a lot. And that calls for this very important structured and national standing committee to try and bring order to the market and support the market in a more organized way.
Additionally, the government has been tasked to reduce levies and taxes that have diminished the competitiveness of Kenyan produce in global markets.
The tax regime is just a mess, and I think the regulators are also not talking together, because we have each regulator levying us, taxing us. Aggregated becomes very expensive to maintain. So that's why we are saying this committee has an opportunity and a responsibility to really steer the horticulture industry.
Rono also challenged members of the committee to incorporate growers in decision-making as they are better informed on the issues concerning their produce.
I think we just hold it so that as ministry we speak and engage the stakeholders for the betterment of the sector.
Today I'm very happy to attend this meeting and to see the standing committee which is formed, and I requested them not to sit in the office, let them come on the ground so that they can sit with the farmers and they can hear from farmers and they can know the challenges which are coming from farmers.
Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
Today being the 14th, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has hiked fuel prices effective from midnight, with a litre of super petrol going up by 29 cents, while diesel is costlier by 2 shillings per litre. The cost of kerosene, which is used for lighting and cooking many low-income households, has been increased by 3 shillings price hike per litre. The pump price of diesel and kerosene would have been higher if the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority had not tapped funds from the Price Stabilization Fund to reduce the retail cost of diesel and kerosene by 2 shillings and 23 cents and 4 shillings and 16 cents respectively. Now, moving on to other stories making headlines in the international world. TikTok users in the US are migrating to Chinese app Rednote, with the threat of a TikTok ban just days away. The move by users who call themselves TikTok refugees has made Rednote the most downloaded app on Apple's US App Store this week. We have details of that and more in our roundup.
Rednote is a TikTok competitor popular with young people in China, Taiwan, and other Mandarin-speaking populations. The app has about 300 million monthly users and looks like a combination of TikTok and Instagram. Rednote allows users, mostly young urban women, to exchange lifestyle tips from dating to fashion. Supreme Court justices are due to rule on a law that set a 19th January deadline for TikTok to either sell its US operations or face a ban in the country. TikTok has repeatedly said that it will not sell its US business, and its lawyers have warned that a ban will violate free speech protections for the platform's 170 million users in the US. Meanwhile, the UK's competition watchdog has launched an investigation into Google to probe whether it has too much power in online search. Google accounts for 90% of UK web searches. The Competition and Markets Authority, CMA, is looking at whether it is using that dominant position to harm competition or choice for users. It is its first investigation after gaining new powers to investigate and enforce charges. At firms, it determines to have a strategic market status in digital markets. Finally, whiskey maker Brown-Forman says it will lay off about 12% of its global workforce of 5,400 employees as the company looks to reduce costs amid weak alcohol demand. The Jack Daniels maker has struggled with high input costs, including of raw materials such as agave and wood barrels, and raised prices for its whiskey brands to shield margins. Brown-Forman says it will close its Louisville-based barrel-making facility by April 25th, which will impact about 210 employees and is part of the original global workforce reduction. The company said it will source barrels from an unnamed external supplier in the future. Brown-Forman's restructuring plan is expected to generate about $70 million to $80 million in annualized cost savings. The company is expected to incur about $60 to $70 million in severance and other charges related to the layoffs.
Well, that marks the end of business news tonight. We now get you to know what's happening in the sporting world with Tom Mboya, and we get to know the latest in the 2024 African Nations Championship. Over to you, Tom.
Many thanks indeed, Nemo, for that update in the business segment. But let's get sporty now. The 2024 African Nation Championship has been postponed from February all the way to August this year. That's according to the Confederation of African Football. The CAF technical and infrastructure experts say that more time is required to ensure that the infrastructure and facilities are at requisite standards to host the championship. CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe, who will grace tomorrow's draw, which will be conducted as scheduled, said that he was confident with the progress made to co-host the 2024 CHAN by Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania in the ongoing constructions and renovations of football infrastructure as well as facilities. Sports Principal Secretary Engineer Peter Toom has stated that it's all systems go of the Total Energies CAF African Nation Championships final draw, which will be held at the iconic Kenyatta International Convention Center here in Nairobi, Kenya on Wednesday night, with President William Ruto expected to grace the event among other high-profile guests who include the CAF President Dr. Patrice Motsepe. The draw will also be live here on KBC Channel 1. That's tomorrow night starting 8 p.m.
Speaking Nairobi, Toom noted that Kenya has several well-established football clubs who play in the country's elite league and CAF inter-club competition, which will enable Kenya to field a strong team as they make their debut at the Total Energies CAF African Nation Championship.
We are prepared to host the draw tomorrow. We've looked at 3 areas. Specifically, we are looking at the event management here, and we've been told that it is now ready, being prepared.
The local organization committee chairman Nicholas Musonye said all measures have been put in place to ensure the success of the upcoming event.
We have confirmed all the arrangements as per CAF requirements, and we want to assure you that we shall have a very good ceremony tomorrow. What we want us to do tomorrow is for good of this country and the region. So we want your presence. We want you to cover this event positively and give us a very good platform to promote our countries of the East African community.
The CAF security officer, Christian Emerua, added that KICC will be closed to the public for the draw tomorrow to ensure seamless production.
If you don't have the vehicle access pass, you are not allowed to come to KICC tomorrow. If you don't have invitations, you are not allowed to come to KICC tomorrow. So this is very important so that we avoid any problem at the gates.
The draw will feature local East African legends led by Kenya's McDonald Mariga, Hassan Waso of Uganda, Mrisho Ngasa of Tanzania. A total of 19 teams, including host nations Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania, and defending champions Senegal, will compete in the tournament.
The 2025 NCBA golf activities were officially launched today at the Kenya Railway Golf Club, with the first leg being hosted at Vet Lab Sports Club on the 25th of January. The activities will include the NCBA Golf Series and renewal of partnerships with the Kenya Golf Union and the Junior Golf Foundation. NCBA, who have also partnered with the professional golfers of Kenya, have committed 60 million shillings for the 2025 golf activities. Their calendar will see a total of 150 events held across Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and Rwanda.
We have been able to pay for 100 coaches, over 100 coaches, to be able to be trained, to be certified coaches. But on top of that, in our regions outside of Nairobi, we pay for these coaches every month for them to train juniors for free in the regions.
On to women's hockey now. Mombasa Sports Club women's hockey team is seeking sponsorship to enable them to travel to Egypt for the 26th edition of the African Cup for Club Championship, scheduled in Port Said, that's in Egypt, at the end of this month. They had an outstanding season, by the way, where they finished third in the National Women's Premier League last year.
Mombasa Sports Club women's hockey team beat all odds to emerge among the top 3 in the National League, an achievement that was no mean feat according to the captain Esther Mwikali. That is why they are determined not to disappoint their fans as they seek funds to enable 20 players and 4 officials to travel to the gift of the Nile.
It is demoralizing, as you can see, if we don't travel. But we are not thinking in that perspective, because I'm sure we will. If we don't, we just continue the normal league and our training as usual as we play our coast league.
The budget for this tournament is 6.3 million, and this is to make a passionate plea to the corporates in the coast region, in Mombasa County, and individuals and businesses to come in and support the team to enable them realize their dream.
Coach Babu Rajab, sports convener of Mombasa Sports Club, said participating in the Egypt tournament will be a game changer for the team.
So we need to understand the extent of this tournament, where we are selling and shouting about our young players, especially who are ladies.
Mombasa County Hockey Association Chairman Oliver Mascaren said they are proud of the club and looks forward to send the young girls to Egypt to showcase their talents.
Mombasa Sports Club has been very successful this past year, winning, coming second in 2 tournaments, 2 national tournaments. They also did very well in Uganda. And I think this is their time to shine.
Mombasa Sports Club women's hockey team recorded a sterling performance in 2023 to be promoted from the Hockey Super League to the National Premier League. From Mombasa County, I am Ann Mburu.
Now, the Kenya Kabaddi Union has unveiled the official jersey for the Kenya women's Kabaddi national team at the Kasarani Indoor Stadium. The sponsorship by Wood Kwambao is the first of its kind as the team prepares for the Women Kabaddi World Cup, which will be held in India between the 7th and 12th of March this year. The team has been training at the Kasarani Indoor Arena 4 times a week, with match simulations on Saturdays. Meanwhile, padel players in Kenya have acquired a new skill and techniques following a 3-day intensive training conducted by celebrated coach Fede Viva Ribas here in Nairobi, Kenya. Padel, by the way, is a dynamic racket sport that originated from Mexico with elements of squash and tennis. The FKF Premier League resumes tomorrow with 2 matches. On card, Tusker Football Club will face Bandani FC, while Police on their side will take on Posta Rangers at the Kenyatta Stadium. That's in Machakos. After a disappointing 2-1 loss to Shabana last weekend, Tusker Football Club will be looking to bounce back with a win to reclaim the top spot in the FKF Premier League. The Charles Okere coached team is currently second in the standings, level on points with leader KCB, who top the league on goal difference. Bandari, who suffered a loss to AFC Leopards over the weekend, sit in the 7th place with 22 points. A win for Bandari would see them rise to 3rd position. In the second match, Police Football Club, who are 4th with 24 points, will face bottom-placed Posta Rangers at the Kenyatta Stadium. Posta Rangers are struggling at the tail end and will be desperate for points as they aim to climb out of the relegation zone. Relegation threatened Monza ended their losing streak with a 2-1 victory over the 6th-placed Fiorentina at the U-Power Stadium last night. Patrick Chueria opened the scoring for Monza in the dying minutes of the first half before Daniel Maldini sealed the win with a goal in the 63rd minute. Fiorentina fought back with a penalty from Lucas, but they were unable to find an equalizer. In other fixtures, Millwall triumphed 3-0 over Dagenham and Redbridge to progress to the FA Cup 4th round. Millwall will now face Leeds United in the next stage. Meanwhile, in La Liga, Real Sociedad defeated 5th-placed Villarreal 1-0 to move up to the 7th place in the standings. The clock has struck exactly 10 p.m. in the o'clock, so that's time to go, isn't it?
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, what do you want to read for us?
Quick acknowledgements for people who are communicating to us on our social media pages. Collins Kinothia, watching all the way from Muranga. Peter Lonyates, watching all the way from Kenol. And also Davida Devoski, Stephen Nyambura, Moses Kinyanjui, and Chachilo Teno. The list could go on, but Tom, time is not on our side.
Time is not on our side, but we want to thank them, especially the digital family. They keep growing and growing. We want to thank you so much. We want to thank also the Prime Edition team on the back end. Listen, without them, this cannot be possible. You get to see me and Muchuma on television, but there's a team in the back end that ensures that this is put together. So on their behalf, I want to thank you so much. My name is Mboya, and
I am Muchuma Odim. Our sign language expert tonight is Byron Abule. Good night. God bless you.
Bye-bye. We'll see you again.
nini hapa?
Nimekuja baba.
Kufanya nini?
Mbona una raha?
Siku nilikusemesha ukakata kunijibu.
Kwa taarifa yako,